In life, there are two types of pain, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And let me tell you, if you're not willing to suffer the pain of discipline, you're going to suffer the pain of regret. It's as simple as that. Now let's break this down. When I talk about making yourself suffer, I'm talking about deliberately choosing the harder path. It's about waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's about hitting the gym when you'd rather sit on the couch. It's about saving money when you'd rather spend it. It's about having that difficult conversation when you'd rather avoid it. You see, success is not something that falls into your lap. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you create. And the creation process, my friends, is often painful. It requires sacrifice, dedication, and yes, suffering. But here's the thing. This kind of suffering is actually a gift. It's the price you pay for growth. It's the admission ticket to the life you want. And let me tell you, it's worth every penny. Think about it. Have you ever accomplished anything worthwhile without some level of discomfort? Have you ever achieved a goal without having to push yourself? Of course not. Every great achievement in history has been born out of struggle and hardship. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but Jim, why would I want to make myself suffer? Isn't life hard enough already? And I understand that sentiment, I really do. But here's the truth, life is going to be hard no matter what. The question is, what kind of hard do you want? Do you want the hardship that comes from constantly reacting to life, always playing catch up, always feeling like you're one step behind? Or do you want the hardship that comes from taking control of your life, from actively shaping your destiny, from becoming the person you were meant to be? Because let me tell you, there's a world of difference between those two types of hardship. One leaves you feeling defeated and powerless. The other leaves you feeling strong, capable, and alive. You see, when you choose to make yourself suffer, when you choose discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, you're sending a powerful message to yourself and to the world. You're saying, I am in control. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And that, my friends, is where true power comes from. It comes from knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you because you've deliberately put yourself through tougher challenges. It comes from the confidence that grows when you consistently do what you said you would do, especially when it's hard. Now let's talk about what this looks like in practice. Making yourself suffer doesn't mean being miserable all the time. It doesn't mean depriving yourself of all pleasure or living like a monk. What it means is consistently choosing the path of growth over the path of comfort. It means setting your alarm for 5 a.m. and actually getting up when it goes off, even when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to go back to sleep. It means putting on your running shoes and hitting the pavement even when it's cold and rainy outside. It means sitting down to work on your business plan, even when your favorite show is on TV. It means saying no to that piece of cake, even when everyone else is indulging. It means having that difficult conversation with your spouse or your boss, even when you'd rather avoid conflict. It means putting in extra hours at work or on your side hustle, even when you'd rather be relaxing. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jim, that sounds exhausting. How long do I have to keep this up? And here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it long enough for it to become a habit. You see, discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. At first, it's going to be hard. It's going to feel like you're fighting against yourself every step of the way. But if you stick with it, something magical happens. Those difficult choices start to become automatic. The suffering starts to feel less like suffering and more like a natural part of your day. And that's when the real transformation begins. That's when you start to see the fruits of your labor. That's when you look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back at you. Not because you look different, although you might, because you become someone who does what they say they're going to do. You've become someone who can be counted on. You've become someone who's in control of their life. Let me give you an example. I once knew a young man who was struggling with his weight. He tried every diet under the sun, but nothing seemed to stick. He'd lose a few pounds, then gain it all back, and then some. He was frustrated, discouraged, and ready to give up. But then he decided to make himself suffer. He committed to waking up at 5 a.m. every day to work out. He committed to preparing all his meals in advance, even though he hated cooking. He committed to tracking every calorie, even though it was tedious and time-consuming. The first few weeks were hell. He was constantly tired, constantly hungry, constantly fighting against his old habits. But he stuck with it. And you know what happened? After a few months, it started to get easier. The workouts became something he looked forward to. The meal prep became a Sunday ritual that he actually enjoyed. The calorie tracking became second nature. And the results? They were beyond his wildest dreams. Not only did he lose the weight, but he gained something far more valuable, self-respect. He proved to himself that he could do hard things. He proved to himself that he was capable of change. He proved to himself that he was in control of his life. That's the power of making yourself suffer. It's not just about the external results, although those are certainly nice. It's about who you become in the process. Now, I want to be clear about something. When I talk about making yourself suffer, I'm not talking about martyrdom. I'm not talking about suffering for the sake of suffering. I'm talking about strategic suffering, suffering with a purpose. You see, there's a big difference between random suffering and deliberate suffering. Random suffering, the kind that life throws at us without our consent, can break us down if we let it. But deliberate suffering, the kind we choose for ourselves in pursuit of a goal, builds us up. It makes us stronger, more resilient, more capable. Think of it like working out. When you lift weights, you're essentially tearing your muscle fibers. It's a form of controlled damage. But what happens after that? Your body repairs those muscle fibers, making them stronger than they were before. That's exactly what happens when you make yourself suffer in pursuit of your goals. You're tearing down old habits, old beliefs, old limitations, and in their place, you're building something stronger, something better. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Jim, I'm already suffering. Life is already hard. Why would I want to make it harder? And I get it. I really do. Life can be tough. We all face challenges, setbacks, disappointments. But here's the thing, there's a world of difference between the suffering that happens to you and the suffering you choose for yourself. When you choose your own suffering, when you deliberately push yourself out of your comfort zone, you're taking control. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're the architect of your own growth. And that shift in perspective changes everything. Let me give you another example. I once met a woman who was terrified of public speaking. The very thought of standing up in front of a crowd made her break out in a cold sweat. But she knew that if she wanted to advance in her career, she needed to overcome this fear. So what did she do? She made herself suffer. She joined a Toastmasters club and committed to giving a speech every single week, no matter how scared she was. The first few times were absolute torture. Her hands shook, her voice quavered, she forgot half of what she wanted to say. But she kept at it. Week after week, she put herself through this self-imposed torture. And you know what happened? Gradually, almost imperceptibly, it started to get easier. The shaking hands became steady. The quavering voice became strong and clear. The forgotten words became fluid and natural. After a year of this self-imposed suffering, she was asked to give a presentation at a major industry conference. And you know what? She knocked it out of the park. She wasn't just good, she was great. She commanded the room, engaged the audience, and delivered her message with power and conviction. Now, here's the kicker. When I asked her how she felt about public speaking now, she laughed and said, you know, it's funny. I actually enjoy it now. I look forward to it. It energizes me. Can you believe that? This woman went from being paralyzed by fear to actually enjoying the very thing that used to terrify her. And it all happened because she was willing to make herself suffer. She was willing to face her fear head on, day after day, week after week, until she conquered it. That's the power of deliberate suffering. It doesn't just help you achieve your goals, it transforms you in the process. It turns weaknesses into strengths. It turns fears into opportunities. It turns limitations into launch pads. Now, I want to address something important here. When I talk about making yourself suffer, I'm not talking about being hard on yourself. I'm not talking about beating yourself up or engaging in negative self-talk. That kind of suffering is counterproductive. It tears you down instead of building you up. No, the kind of suffering I'm talking about is always coupled with self-compassion. It's about pushing yourself, yes, but also acknowledging your efforts. It's about celebrating your progress no matter how small. It's about treating yourself with kindness and understanding even as you hold yourself to high standards. Think of it like this. If you were training a child to ride a bike, you wouldn't yell at them every time they fell off. You wouldn't berate them for their lack of balance or coordination. No, you'd encourage them. You'd praise their efforts. You'd help them up when they fall and cheer them on when they succeed. That's exactly how you need to treat yourself when you're making yourself suffer. Be your own coach, your own cheerleader. Acknowledge the difficulty of what you're doing, but don't let it stop you. Recognize your progress, no matter how small. Celebrate your wins, no matter how insignificant they might seem. Because here's the truth, the path of deliberate suffering is not an easy one. There will be days when you want to give up. There will be times when you question whether it's all worth it. And in those moments, self-compassion is what will keep you going. It's what will help you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of making yourself suffer, consistency. You see, it's not enough to push yourself once in a while. It's not enough to have occasional bursts of discipline. If you want to truly transform your life, you need to make suffering a daily practice. I'm reminded of a story about a young man who wanted to become a writer. He'd always dreamed of writing a novel, but he could never seem to find the time. He had a full-time job, a family to take care of, and a million other responsibilities that always seemed to get in the way. But one day he decided to make himself suffer. He committed to writing for 1 hour every single day, no matter what. He set his alarm for 4 a.m., dragged himself out of bed, and sat down at his computer. Even when he was tired, even when he had writer's block, even when he felt like every word he wrote was garbage. The first few weeks were brutal. He was constantly exhausted. His writing felt forced and unnatural. He questioned whether he was cut out for this at all, but he stuck with it. Day after day, week after week, month after month after month. And you know what happened? After a year of this daily suffering, he had a completed first draft of his novel. Was it perfect? Of course not. But it was done. He had accomplished something that most people only dream about. And more importantly, he had proven to himself that he could do it. But here's the really interesting part. By the end of that year, writing wasn't suffering anymore. It had become a part of him. It was as natural as breathing. He found himself looking forward to those early morning hours, cherishing that quiet time when the world was still asleep, and he could lose himself in his story. That's the power of consistent, deliberate suffering. It doesn't just help you achieve your goals, it changes who you are. It turns discipline into habit. It turns effort into second nature. It turns suffering into joy. Now, I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking. Jim, you're saying this all sounds great in theory, but my life is already full. I'm already stretched thin. How am I supposed to find time to make myself suffer? And I get it. I really do. We're all busy. We all have demands on our time and energy. But here's the thing. If you want different results, you need to make different choices. If you want to change your life, you need to change your priorities. You see, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who don't isn't time. It's how they choose to use that time. It's about what they're willing to sacrifice in pursuit of their goals. So I want you to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up in order to make room for deliberate suffering? Are you willing to give up an hour of sleep? Are you willing to give up your favorite TV show? Are you willing to give up some of your social media time? Because here's the truth, something's got to give. You can't add without subtracting. You can't create new habits without letting go of old ones. You can't make yourself suffer without making some sacrifices. But here's the beautiful thing, the sacrifices you make in pursuit of your goals are temporary. The benefits you gain are permanent. The TV shows you miss, the sleep you lose, the comfort you sacrifice, these are all fleeting. But the discipline you develop, the habits you form, the person you become, these last a lifetime. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of making yourself suffer, the importance of having a clear purpose. You see, suffering without purpose is just masochism. It's pain for the sake of pain. And that's not what we're after here. No, the kind of suffering I'm talking about is always in service of a greater goal. It's suffering with a purpose. It's pain with a payoff. And that purpose, that goal, that payoff, that's what will keep you going when things get tough. Think about it like this. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. It's hard. It's painful. Your muscles are screaming. Your lungs are burning. Every step is a struggle, but you keep going. Why? Because you have a clear vision of the summit. You can picture the view from the top. You can imagine the sense of accomplishment you'll feel when you reach your goal. That's exactly how you need to approach deliberate suffering. You need to have a clear vision of what you're working towards. You need to be able to see the person you're becoming, the life you're creating, the goals you're achieving. So before you start making yourself suffer, take some time to get clear on your purpose. What are you working towards? What's your summit? What's the payoff that will make all the pain worthwhile? Maybe you want to start a successful business. Maybe you want to get in the best shape of your life. Maybe you want to write a book or learn a new language or become a world-class public speaker. Whatever it is, get crystal clear on it. Visualize it. Feel it. Make it so real in your mind that you can almost taste it. Because here's the thing, when you have a clear purpose, suffering becomes easier to bear. It becomes meaningful. It becomes a badge of honor, a sign that you're on the right path, a testament to your commitment to your goals. I'm reminded of a story about a young athlete I once knew. She was a talented runner, but she was struggling to break through to the next level. She was putting in the work, but she wasn't seeing the results she wanted. So she decided to make herself suffer. She committed to a brutal training regimen that pushed her to her limits and beyond. She woke up at 4 a.m. every day to run. She did strength training in the afternoon. She watched her diet like a hawk, giving up all her favorite foods. It was hard. There were days when she wanted to quit. There were times when she questioned whether it was all worth it. But she kept going. Why? Because she had a clear purpose. She could see herself standing on that Olympic podium, gold medal around her neck. That vision, that purpose was what got her out of bed every morning. It's what kept her going when her body was screaming at her to stop. And you know what? After years of this deliberate suffering, she achieved her goal. She made it to the Olympics. She stood on that podium. She achieved her dream. And in that moment, all the suffering, all the sacrifice, all the pain, it was all worth it. Now, I want to talk about another crucial aspect of making yourself suffer, the importance of starting small. You see, one of the biggest mistakes people make when they decide to embrace deliberate suffering is that they try to do too much too soon. They go from 0 to 100 overnight, and then they burn out just as quickly. Remember, suffering is like a muscle. You need to build it up gradually. You wouldn't walk into a gym for the first time and try to bench press 300 pounds, would you? Of course not. You'd start small with weights you can manage and gradually increase over time. The same principle applies to deliberate suffering. Start with small challenges. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier than usual. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups every day. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a challenging book. Whatever it is, make it small enough that you can do it consistently, but big enough that it pushes you out of your comfort zone. Then, once that small challenge becomes easier, increase it. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Do 20 push-ups. Read 20 pages. Keep gradually increasing the challenge, bit by bit, day by day. This gradual approach does two things. First, it builds your suffering muscle over time, making you more resilient and more capable of handling bigger challenges. Second, it gives you a series of small wins along the way, which helps keep you motivated and engaged. Remember, the goal isn't to make yourself miserable. The goal is to push yourself, to challenge yourself, to grow. And that growth happens gradually over time through consistent effort and deliberate practice. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of making yourself suffer, the importance of recovery. You see, suffering isn't meant to be constant. Just like your muscles need rest after a workout to grow stronger, your mind and spirit need rest after periods of intense effort. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They push themselves relentlessly day after day without giving themselves time to recover. And eventually they burn out, they lose their motivation, they give up. But that's not what we're after here. We're after sustainable growth, long-term change. And that requires a balance between pushing yourself and allowing yourself to rest and recover. So make sure you're building recovery time into your routine. Maybe it's a full day off each week where you allow yourself to relax and recharge. Maybe it's a few hours each day where you engage in activities that rejuvenate you. Whatever it is, make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Because here's the thing, recovery isn't a luxury. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a crucial part of the growth process. It's during these periods of rest that your mind and body integrate the lessons you've learned, heal from the stress you've put them under, and prepare for the next challenge. Think of it like this: deliberate suffering is like pulling back the string on a bow. It creates tension, it builds potential energy. But if you never release that string, if you never allow that energy to propel the arrow forward, what's the point? Recovery is that release. It's what allows all your hard work, all your suffering to propel you forward towards your goals. Now, I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking. Jim, you're saying this all sounds great for big goals and long-term projects. But what about the everyday stuff? What about the mundane tasks that I have to do but don't really want to? And that's a great question, because the truth is, a lot of life is made up of these mundane tasks. The dishes that need to be washed, the emails that need to be answered, the errands that need to be run. And yes, these tasks can be a form of suffering too. But here's the thing, even these mundane tasks can be opportunities for growth if you approach them with the right mindset. Instead of seeing them as burdens, try to see them as opportunities to practice discipline, to build your suffering muscle. For example, let's say you hate doing the dishes. Instead of putting them off until the sink is overflowing, challenge yourself to do them immediately after every meal. Make it a game. See how quickly you can get them done. Use it as a time to practice mindfulness, focusing fully on the task at hand. Or maybe you dread answering emails. Instead of letting them pile up, set aside a specific time each day to tackle them. Challenge yourself to get through your inbox more efficiently each day. Use it as an opportunity to practice clear, concise communication. You see, when you approach these mundane tasks with this mindset, something interesting happens. They stop being such a burden. They become opportunities for small wins, for building discipline, for practicing focus and efficiency. And here's the really cool part. This approach doesn't just make these tasks more bearable. It actually makes you better at them. And as you get better at them, they take less time and energy, freeing you up to focus on bigger, more important things. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of making yourself suffer, the importance of accountability. You see, it's one thing to make a commitment to yourself. It's another thing entirely to make that commitment public, to have others holding you accountable. When you're the only one who knows about your goals, it's easy to let yourself off the hook. It's easy to make excuses, to push things off, to give up when things get tough. But when you have others watching, when you know you'll have to answer to someone else, it becomes a lot harder to slack off. So I want you to find an accountability partner. It could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, a coach. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's someone who will hold you to your commitments, someone who won't let you off easy. Share your goals with this person. Tell them about the suffering you're choosing to endure. Ask them to check in with you regularly, to ask you tough questions, to call you out when you're not living up to your commitments. It might feel uncomfortable at first. It might feel vulnerable. But trust me, this discomfort, this vulnerability, it's just another form of suffering that will make you stronger in the long run. I'm reminded of a story about two friends who decided to train for a marathon together. Neither of them were runners. Neither of them were in particularly good shape. But they made a pact to hold each other accountable. They agreed to meet every morning at 5 a.m. for a run, rain or shine. They agreed to text each other their daily mileage. They agreed to call each other out if either of them started slacking off. And you know what? It worked. There were mornings when one of them wanted to stay in bed, but the thought of letting their friend down got them up and out the door. There were days when one of them wanted to cut their run short, but knowing they'd have to report their mileage kept them going. And 6 months later, they both crossed that finish line. They achieved something they never thought possible. And they did it because they were willing to make themselves suffer, and because they had each other to lean on, to push each other, to hold each other accountable. Now, I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking. Jim, you're saying this all sounds great, but what if I fail? What if I make myself suffer and still don't achieve my goals? And that's a valid concern, because the truth is there are no guarantees in life. You can do everything right. You can suffer and sacrifice and push yourself to your limits and still fall short of your goals. But here's the thing. Even if you don't achieve your specific goal, the process of working towards it, the discipline you develop, the habits you form, the person you become, all of that is valuable in itself. Think about it like this. Let's say you set a goal to lose 50 pounds in 6 months. You push yourself hard, you change your diet, you exercise regularly, you make yourself suffer. But at the end of 6 months, you've only lost 30 pounds. Now, you could look at that as a failure. You didn't hit your specific target, but think about what you've gained. You've developed healthier eating habits. You've made exercise a regular part of your routine. You've proven to yourself that you can stick to a challenging regimen. You've lost 30 pounds, which is a significant achievement in itself. Are you really going to say that all of that suffering, all of that effort, was for nothing just because you fell short of an arbitrary number? Of course not, because the truth is the real value isn't in hitting a specific target. The real value is in who you become along the way. It's in the discipline you develop, the habits you form, the mindset you cultivate. And here's the really important part. These things don't go away just because you fell short of a specific goal. They stay with you. They become part of who you are. And they set you up for future success in ways you might not even be able to imagine right now. So don't be afraid of failure. Don't let the fear of falling short keep you from pushing yourself, from making yourself suffer. Because even in failure, there's growth. Even in falling short, there's progress. Now, as we start to wrap up, I want to talk about one last crucial aspect of making yourself suffer: the importance of reflection. You see, suffering without reflection is just pain. But suffering combined with thoughtful reflection becomes a powerful tool for growth and self-discovery. So I want you to make reflection a regular part of your routine. Take some time each day, each week, each month to look back on your suffering, on your efforts, on your progress. Ask yourself some tough questions. What did I learn from this suffering? How did it change me? What worked well? What didn't? How can I apply these lessons moving forward? This reflection serves several purposes. First, it helps you extract maximum value from your suffering. It ensures that you're not just enduring pain, but actually growing from it. Second, it helps you refine your approach. Maybe you'll realize that you need to adjust your goals. Maybe you'll discover more effective ways to push yourself. Maybe you'll identify areas where you need to be kinder to yourself. And third, reflection helps you maintain perspective. It reminds you of how far you've come, of the progress you've made, of the person you're becoming. And that perspective can be incredibly motivating when things get tough. I'm reminded of a CEO I once knew who made reflection a crucial part of his routine. Every Sunday evening, he would sit down and review his week. He would look at his successes and his failures, his moments of strength and his moments of weakness. He would ask himself tough questions. Did I push myself hard enough this week? Did I make excuses? Did I let fear hold me back? What did I learn? How can I do better next week? And you know what? This regular reflection was a form of suffering in itself. It wasn't always comfortable. It often forced him to confront hard truths about himself. But it was also incredibly powerful. It helped him continuously refine his approach, learn from his mistakes, and push himself to new heights. And over time, this habit of reflection, combined with his willingness to make himself suffer, transformed him from a good leader into a great one. It helped him build a world-class company, achieve incredible success, and become someone who inspired others to push themselves to their limits. So as you embark on this journey of deliberate suffering, don't forget to build in time for reflection. It might not be comfortable. It might even be painful at times. but it's an essential part of the process. It's what turns suffering into growth, pain into progress. Now, as we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with one final thought. Making yourself suffer isn't about being miserable. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about challenging yourself. It's about pushing your limits. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about waking up every day and asking yourself, what can I do today that will make me stronger? What can I endure today that will make me more resilient? What can I sacrifice today that will bring me closer to my goals? Because here's the truth, comfort is the enemy of growth. Easy is the enemy of excellence. The path of least resistance leads to a life of mediocrity. But when you're willing to make yourself suffer, when you're willing to do the hard things, to push through the pain, to embrace the discomfort, that's when real growth happens. That's when you start to unlock your true potential. That's when you start to become the person you were meant to be. So I challenge you, starting today, make yourself suffer. Choose the harder path. Embrace the discomfort. Push your limits. Do the things that scare you. Sacrifice the good to go for the great. It won't be easy. There will be days when you want to give up. There will be times when you question whether it's all worth it. But I promise you this, if you stick with it, if you embrace the suffering, if you push through the pain, you will emerge stronger, more resilient, more capable than you ever thought possible. And one day, you'll look back on all that suffering, all that sacrifice, all that hard work, and you'll realize it wasn't suffering at all. It was growth, it was progress. It was the price you paid to become the person you are today. So go out there and make yourself suffer. Your future self will thank you for it. Thank you.